everybody. Welcome to the Sharon and Joe Show. My name is Sharon.
Hey, everybody. My name is Joe.
Joe, you're here this week. You don't have a substitute.
Yeah, I was sick like for a good 5 to 7 days at least with sinus congestion. It was wretched. And everybody in the house had it except for Sharon because God said Sharon's got to take care of the fan for us. And Sharon takes her vitamins every day and Sharon's healthy. So anybody that asked about me, thank you very much for just kind of keeping me in your thoughts. It's always good therapy for me to be here, though. I don't ever want to forget where I came from, you know?
Don't worry, I won't let you forget.
Good.
So tonight we were thinking that we would talk a little bit about narcissists and finances. Joe and I are we're like, the reality is we are starting over from scratch, really.
We were in the negative.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Scratch is we're doing great now.
I don't know about you, but the financial insecurity was probably the driving force, one of the biggest fears I had, that like I have CPTSD complex and it's from my childhood as well, but the hypervigilance of oh my God, like especially after going no contact, like what happens if I get laid off of work? What happens if my car breaks? What happens if it was horrendous, man?
Well, financial insecurity is terrifying. When you're afraid, that used to be an issue I had when I was living in New Hampshire. What if I can't pay the mortgage? Then what am I going to do?
You know what I tell people, like when they're like, well, money doesn't buy you happiness. I'm like, that's true, but try living without it.
Yeah.
And you're talking to somebody that like I'm a recovered alcoholic. And I after going to college, and this is my best thinking got me like homeless in New York for about a year when I was young. So that's true. Money doesn't buy you happiness. It can't make you happy, but try living without it, man.
I actually used to think that a lot because I felt tied into my entanglement a lot, mainly because of finances, because I wasn't working, and how was I going to support myself? What was I going to do? It's a terrible feeling. And I can remember thinking to myself, with both my mother and my ex-mother-in-law, I used to think, and this is something that we discussed, and I didn't know what narcissism was at this time, but I did know that these are people that were in successful marriages, and I knew that mine was not financially successful, I should say. And I used to think, you have no idea how lucky you are, because at least you have that financial security. When you don't have it, and like even, like say my parents got divorced, my mother would get half of everything. Half of everything for me was in the negative, you know what I mean? So it was like that there was nothing, and that's a really long-winded way to say it's terrifying.
It's through our struggles, though, and it's being carried, I call it, through our fears, because God carried me, is what really builds character. Like, not that I would want it to happen all over again, but like I don't know if I'd be down with like being born with a silver spoon in my mouth, like not knowing what it was like to struggle. I wouldn't be who I am today, and I respect who I am today. Yeah. Sharon and I were talking before this too, because Sharon had misspoke, and she actually pointed it out, because she was like, because our narcissists, they were had comorbid conditions, sociopaths. They were covert, or they call them vulnerable narcissists, where the egomaniac with the inferiority complex, they weren't as overt, but on the inside, they thought they were just geniuses.
Oh, yeah.
And Sharon had mentioned, like, yeah, narcissists suck with money. But then she looked at me afterwards. She was like, no, that's not right, because her ex's father and her father are overt narcissists, and they're brilliant business people. And a lot of people, CEOs, they're overt. They actually have the personality disorder, and they ain't afraid to flaunt it, and they ain't afraid to step on your toes and take it from you.
And there's a difference too. Like some people can maybe just be a jerk. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're narcissists.
Or personality disorder, let's say that.
But I think when you think of like somebody classically,
stereotypical.
I picture like if anyone used to watch soap operas, I used to love soap operas. It would be like the villain, the bad guy with the big corner office, and he made all that money, and that's what I think of like a what a narcissist is, or what I used to think a narcissist was. I didn't know that there could be all different types, and that somebody like your ex or my ex or somebody else, that somebody would meet and wouldn't think that they were actually this evil, vile creature.
Not only that, but like the stereotypical psychopath, the serial killer. Well, there's some not so stereotype typical psychopaths, sociopaths.
Yeah.
That are just as dangerous. They'd kill you if they could get away with it. So we were just talking about that, but our marriages, like, there was some major setbacks financially for us.
That's a nice way to set it, to put it, just a little bit.
And it's ironic because Sharon's ex came from very, very, very wealthy parents, and he was a financial advisor, barely made it through college. It was his dad's connections, but he was a buffoon, man, when it came to finances. See,
oh God,
when you take like the ego of somebody that has a personality disorder and compound that with control, and then the wool was pulled over our eyes, and I take accountability for my part in it, but like we gave them control of, okay, you take care of the bills, well, I'm doing this, and this, and my God, it was mistake number 50.
Yes. See, this is where I have an issue with this, because I agree, that's true. We did technically do that, but we didn't know. And I have this issue. My mother said this to me one time when I was telling her something about my ex and how he had all this debt, and she blamed me. Well, why did you trust him? Why did you let somebody completely take control of the money? How could you do that? And it was always, it's my husband.
In your defense, however, if it happened 2 or 3 or 4 times.
No, that's very accurate. That's true.
If it did,
I don't remember when she said that, but that's true. But I'm just saying, like, in general.
In general, like, you would think, like, the person you're with, you got to be able to trust them with your life. I remember my mom. She used to tell me this all the time. If you could trust a person with your money, you could trust them with your life. And my God, she was stealing from me the first probably month or 2 out of my account, and then I stayed with her for 20 years. And
well, that's like a whole other thing. But just when it comes down to it,
you would think
you're likely going to be in financial difficulty if you're with a narcissist.
Yeah, especially covert, because they're very sneaky. They think they know what the hell they're doing, and they're just raging lunatics behind that mask.
Yes. You know what? I think you said one time, I think you said it in relation to this, that they're almost like a toddler with a loaded gun.
Yeah.
And they're in control, or even just forget the loaded gun. Imagine you have a toddler in charge of your finances.
You put $100 bill in the baby's hands, come back like a half an hour later, see where that $100 bill is.
Yeah.
He had ate it, or ripped it up all over the place.
Yeah, exactly. So we don't know this, but it doesn't matter if we know it or not. At the end of the day, we pay the repercussions of it.
Well, another thing that I used to think too is, like, she thought that money grew on trees. There was no respect for.
Mine was like that too.
Yeah,
I'll tell you in a second. Go ahead.
There was no respect. Like, I busted my ass to move forward and do what I had to do, and every penny that I make, I respected enough to know, like, this just didn't come out of the clouds. They're in La La Land. They got that magical thinking where somehow it just appears.
It's almost like if they need something or want something, that needs to take the precedence
over everything else.
Everything.
Groceries or
My ex would be like, "Oh, I need a new printer. I need this. I need that," and it would be like, I could never imagine, Joe, I need to get a new phone, and then I'm walking to the car. You know what I mean? Like, that's what he would do. It would be like this: I must get this right now. So it doesn't matter what you have for money. Like, it doesn't matter. They're going to buy it.
It's instant gratification, just like a little child.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? That's just.
And if they need it, like, I think they convince themselves, I must have this. Like, it's an absolute life or death.
Nobody else matters anyways. So it's just like, okay, this is my thought. I'm the only one in my head. These people are just whatever. I'm just going to go get it.
Exactly. And picture my ex too. He's probably thinking to himself, "Oh, she's not even working. This is really all mine anyway." So
the rationalization of these creatures are just unfathomable. I'm a flawed empath, and I have, like, we all have narcissistic traits. when you get to the certain magical line, I don't know where that boundary crosses, where it goes into a personality disorder, and then your empathy like goes on empty, and there's no insight, and you're a control freak. Man, anybody around you is freaking cleared up. It's a tornado, man. And I crossed paths with this sucker and was in the eye of it for many, many moons.
You know what though? It's so funny. Like I'm laughing at this, but it's really not funny. It does make a difference, and you can have some humor about it.
You know what, man? I'll never forget I cried many, many nights, but the hell at that, man. It's like, if I can make fun of myself and be late on myself, I can make fun of anybody. That gives me the right to make fun of anybody any way I want.
All right, I'm with you. I love it.
So talk a little bit, because this was important. I didn't do this, you guys. The fight, like, it sucked being married to this thing and paying tens of thousands of dollars in treatment centers and money missing out of my account. And then, but when I went no contact and she took every dime from me and the electric got shut off and I had 2 boys and 2 cats, a dog, and her mother living here, and then she decided to steal the car after she had a car, so I couldn't get them back and forth to whatever, grocery shop, whatever. That's when the financial insecurity like drove me to hypervigilance, and that fear was just consuming, like an all-consuming fire. I didn't do what Sharon did. So like when I was in the marriage, it was part of the price to pay for this delusion of, okay, my kids aren't going to come from a broken family like I did, and we stay together no matter what. Now in Sharon's situation, you did something different.
You mean when I'm saving money?
Yeah, well, it was. I know you told me about the one night that he came in at 3 o'clock in the morning, woke you up, and said you can't go grocery shopping tomorrow because I'm $100,000 in credit card debt. 5 hours later, so there you go. There's one emotion. Then 5 hours later, oh honey, don't worry about it. I call up my daddy, and he paid it. He's going to pay it.
Yeah, and then like life went on as if it didn't happen. It like now when I think about it, like that was very psychologically detrimental.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just is horrible.
You're talking extreme fluctuations of emotion for somebody like an empath or somebody that has empathy. To have those kind of emotions fluctuating is like a freaking drug, man.
It was pretty bad. I mean, it really was. And then I can remember for days afterwards thinking to myself, did this just happen? Or
yeah, am I nuts?
Yeah,
like, should I be concerned about this? Because they're so screwed up. Like, they believe their own lies so much, they convince themselves eventually that you don't know if there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, yes. Well, I think that's really when it comes down to it, is that is the secret to recovery, is it doesn't matter about the narcissist. Like, we're focused on the narcissist, and you always say, and I think it's so funny, we have a PhD in MPD, and we do. We're focused on, wow, okay, I'm going to learn more about this.
These creatures exist. You know, the fairy tales were true.
Exactly. So, you know, so I don't know, like this happens to all of us. I think we get to a point where we suddenly know who we're dealing with.
Yeah, what we're dealing with, I always say, not who. Is I had to dehumanize her in order to always remember what it was that I was dealing with. Because I do believe there's a spiritual component that's often overlooked, and something behind that that's just very negative and dark.
That's a really good point, because you and I have both said that before, and I know a lot of other people too. When you're dealing with spiritual warfare, if you believe that, if you think that this, and I do, I believe.
I believe in psychology and science, although there's an aspect that we don't quite understand.
There's something, I don't know what it is. I mean, we talked
something
about
that I've
this.
never experienced before. Something that, this is why I think it is that if you listen to survivors and people who've been through it, like, it alters your life forever, and hopefully in a good way. But that kind of experience, it
there's
is
an
spiritual.
ultimate victory at the end if you go through it. There is, and I think that kind of fits into this as well. And I believe it's spiritual warfare. So for me to say that, the extraordinary things that happen are to be expected, and you need. If you believe in God, like
until the miracle happens,
like God will fight with you, for you.
Yes, and the one thing that Sharon did different, like after that experience, the traumatic experience of being woken up and having kids and not being able to grocery shop the next day, is you started saving money for yourself.
That was actually the very beginning of me, and I didn't even know I was doing this at the time. So if you are more advanced than I was, and you recognize these things earlier, me starting to save money was a huge step towards me having some type of
Independence, man.
yeah.
Control over your own actions, self-worth. Like it began a journey.
I was really traumatized when my ex told me that we didn't have groceries to feed the kids. I was very upset about that. Like it was one of those things. It was like almost like a defining moment in my life. It was horror, just terror. And I was never gonna let that happen again. So I started saving money because of that. It was really in reaction to that, where I was like, all right, at some point I got $25 and I'm like, all right, thank God. Now I could buy
At
groceries
least, like,
for a week or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, it was peanut butter sandwiches, but still.
No, it was the one thing that Sharon did, and I have in my recovery was we took things in little baby increments. Like, okay, so I don't have enough money to pay for rent in an apartment with my kids, but I could treat them out to McDonald's tonight if they were really hungry. I have food, and then it was a step in the right direction, and then it's building your relationship with the God of your understanding, and then that's when the spiritual component comes in and doors start to open. And that I commend you for.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. When I was doing this, though, you guys, I never called out to God. So for this, I like, see, this doesn't have to happen to you. I was stumbling around, and thank God I stumbled the right way, but I didn't know what was happening. So if you're aware of this and you know ahead of time and you're thinking, maybe this is a spiritual battle, or maybe this is something bigger than I realize, go into that, follow that, because I was stumbling around. Like, we can tell you the answers. Joe's right. Like, develop your relationship with God, because that's how you're going to get out.
Yeah, it was. See, I even believed in God, but I forgot. Like, it's just it wipes you so out there. That I was in a desert, man, and
Yeah.
I don't know how the hell I got there, and how did I get so far away from God, and does God even exist anymore? And yeah, I believe in a creator, but he doesn't give a shit about me. It was just I had to be in enough pain out of desperation, like somebody drowning, asking for like a life raft, like to cry out. And he heard me, and he was like, finally, and that began the most important relationship of my life was with God, of my understanding, Jesus, a relationship with my true self, understanding that I was a big part of the problem, and the solution was living, and we call it this triangle. It's just Sharon, I, and God, and we call him Dad. We try to have an intimate living relationship with him, and it's very imperfect and very flawed, but it's
It's real, though. Like, what we're trying.
yeah, it's something real, a living prayer.
Yeah, I agree.
So part of the solution that we would suggest is we know we didn't get into these entanglements overnight. We're not going to come out overnight. It took me many, many, many moons to finally go no contact. But there are little things you could do here and there to start stashing your money away, like a little squirrel during the fall, like
Yeah.
gathering the nuts is putting them away. One of the things that helped me tremendously, and I'd have a friend remind me this every once in a blue moon, is that I'd be freaking out. What happens if you get laid off of work? What happens if and he was like, Joe, do you have right now? He said, stop. Do you have everything that you need right now? And I was like, and then he asked me, do you have a house? Yeah, I don't know about the mortgages. No, do you have a roof over your head? Are you sleeping on the floor, or are you actually in a bed? I'm in a bed. Okay, do you have some food in the fridge if you like can eat? Yeah, enough to maybe get a snack tonight? Yes. And do I need to make any decisions right now? No. And it would ground me right into the present moment. And that's where God is, like knowing that
That's
he gives
helped
me
me
everything I
before
need.
when you've done that to me.
Because,
Yeah.
because it's not like it's true, but like when you talk it out and you answer that, like it's true, and it's in the light, in that you're okay and you're safe. Like, that's where I had to be at,
Yeah.
you know? And then when you save a little bit of money here and there, it doesn't matter what, anything, it starts to build momentum. If you're working,
It's a little bit at a time, but you'll start, okay, I can buy McDonald's too. I can buy a week's groceries too. I can stay at a hotel like, if I had to, if I needed to, like that would buy me some time. It would be okay.
No.
Because that's what you need to know. You need to know it's going to be okay.
Yeah, and I didn't know it was going to be okay. I did know, though, that there was something spiritual happening.
Yeah.
Like, I did believe that this phenomenon that I was in, like, there was something spiritual at work. And you're dealing with, in spirituality, there's infinite possibilities. Like, doors started opening. I didn't win the lottery, but like something would come. Like, I get my refund for my taxes, like I thought I owed, and I got paid, and it was like, wow. It was like, okay, I got the mortgage for another month. Just, I was walking and building my relationship with God to the best of my ability. So many days, I just couldn't do nothing but freaking breathe. But it passed. And when I became ready, like, the economic insecurity was lifted.
Well, now, I mean, Joe and I at this point, we're starting over, really, from just about nothing or owing, I guess, you know what I mean? We didn't go into this well off. We're still dealing with it. But every day as we move forward, it's a choice to a large degree. We're choosing to do what we have to do to build up again. Because we could give up and just say, forget it. But Joe and I, we want to still live. We want to live our life and live life the way that we should have back at the beginning.
Yeah, and we went through whatever we had to go through to get here. And not everybody gets here, but I can tell you this. Like, if recovery wasn't possible, none of us would be out. We'd be in that hell until, as I said, like, the only way it was going to end is if I died or the narcissist died.
Yeah, that's the truth. That's the truth for a lot of us.
Yeah, and it's like the parasitic relationship with the host.
Yeah.
One of them has to die, or, it's just the way it is.
And you believe that, like, deeply when you're in the middle of this.
Well, it's the truth.
Yeah.
However, God is the way out, and God can make that.
Well, see, I think so too, and maybe we can do another video talking about that. But I just want to say, like, for the scope of today's video, if you believe that this is spiritual warfare, or it could be maybe if there's a possibility in your mind that this could be true, just remember that the things that are going to happen, like, this is true, like, keep this in mind. This is your view, right?
See, I know,
this.
like.
Yes, yeah, me too. Yeah. I don't think this is happening. I know it. Me too. But there came a point, like, just if you think maybe, then understand that what you're going to have to go through to get out is not going to be the easiest thing in the world. But God will help you, and that's how you'll get out.
There will be things that happen.
Yeah.
And you'll know, and you're going to know it wasn't you. And you're going to know that something else is happening, and you're going to build your faith. And
you'll start seeing, yeah. That happened to both of us, exactly. I always call it God's fingerprints. They're all over this. You'll see it, but it starts with, okay, this is,
is there anybody out there? Like, if you're there, could you hear me? I need help, please. Whatever it is, even if there is no God, in case there is, like, it took me desperation to reach out, and I promise you, if you're a child of the universe and you're here, that the universe will answer. The God of your understanding will be there, and just like He did for me and Sharon.
Yeah, I agree. And start doing something, like, start saving money, because you can never go wrong saving money, but it gives you some freedom. Because the reality is, when you're with a narcissist, if you don't know you're in financial trouble, you probably are. I mean, it's, my God, everybody who deals with a narcissist deals with finances. You're dealing with somebody that they have no control of their own life. They don't care about their family. They're going to run you into the ground.
They're, as I said, that magical thinking is like, they're lunatics with money. Like, it just it comes out of thin air, and it dissipates out of thin air. There's no respect for what it takes to earn that,
Yeah.
that's what you're dealing with, man. And when you lack empathy and insight, and you can rationalize everything, anything goes. Not just finances, your whole damn entire life.
And then for us knuckleheads mixed up with them,
Yeah.
we have quite the fun life ahead of us, huh?
Well, we got a lot of experience, and the experience can be our greatest asset if we can.
I think
try
that
to
it can too, yeah.
reach out and help somebody else out.
So I hope this video helped you, at least help you realize that if you're with a narcissist and you're in financial difficulty, that is to be expected. But moving forward, how you go about it, the choices that you make all the difference. And just to use Joe and I, we're not past this where, oh yeah, those were tough days. These are the tough days now, but we're choosing to move forward, and it really does make a difference.
It got lifted.
Yeah.
It's still sometimes unease, but to call it like anxiety or hypervigilance or like
Well, we have to
pure
remind each
terror,
other now. Like, Joe, remember, we have this and
We're
this,
okay.
and
Like-
if the worst case scenario happens, we can do this.
That's another thing I used to think of. Like, what was the worst case scenario is that I'd maybe go to McDonald's and mop the floors and be the fry guy. And I don't care about but I tend to go. My fears will always take me to like the worst
Yeah.
possible scenario in my head.
I think that's also a symptom of CPTSD, because you don't want to go to a really bad place. So, you have to imagine the worst possible place. It can only be better than what you're imagining it.
And then unfortunately, there's no logic behind it. Like, wait a minute here. Well, if I didn't have a car, I could walk to this store and I could get hired. I know I can. It's
Yeah.
just, it stays stuck on, it pierces every fabric of our existence, that fear. And it's just, but you walk in faith and you fake it till you make it, and you don't quit until a miracle happens, and you hang the hell on, and you ask yourself that question: do I have everything that I need right now today? And more than likely, you got more than what you need.
I agree, and especially if you keep practicing that, you'll start to notice, like, wow, you know what, I am okay. And it just, in order to get to the point where you really want to be, it's taking these little steps, because nobody goes from this horrible situation one minute to everything's perfect the next. There's a process, but if you want it and you keep that goal in mind, you'll be able to do whatever you want.
A minute at a time, an hour at a time.
And during the bad times, remember, okay, this is a bad time. It's going to get better. It's that hope every day.
Make it through the night.
Yeah.
And if you wake up and it gets worse, then think of your worst case alternatives and scenarios. But just hang on and work your ass off with God, and He'll do for you what you can't do for yourself.
I 100% agree. That literally happened to both of us, and I have no doubt that it can't happen to anybody else.
The last person I would ever lie to would be somebody that was in my position.
Yeah.
My heart goes out to all of the people that have been in my position before, and I tell you the truth. The reason why I sit here and do this is because if I could do it, anybody could do it.
Yeah, I agree. So thank you guys. Joe, we'll see you back next week, maybe before, you never know. But I will see you guys on Wednesday. So I hope everybody has a great day, a great week, and I will talk to you on Wednesday. Bye.
Have a great week, you guys.